Some games miss the mark so wildly that they loop back around to brilliance in a way. Whether it's the clunky combat, laughable dialogue, or design choices no sane studio would sign off on today, or even back then, these titles prove that flaws can be part of the fun, even if they, at times, don't pass the minimum quality standard. They're awkward, messy, sometimes downright broken, and yet completely unforgettable. If you end up liking the content, please subscribe for more, and I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and tell me what you think down below. Love to hear it.
For the metaphorical
Imagine
challenge.
booting up what appears to be a straightforward fantasy RPG and discovering it's secretly a giant Skittles advertisement. That's Darkened Sky, a 2002 action-adventure RPG that somehow merges canny marketing with spell-slinging heroics. And against all odds, it's weirdly enjoyable. You play as Sky, a sharp-tongued shepherd-turned-heroine armed with a staff that channels magic through colorful Skittles gems. Collect the candies, mix their hues, and you'll unlock spells like fireballs, shields, or bizarre rainbow effects. It sounds like a gimmick, and it absolutely is, but it's also surprisingly fun. The game's world is lush and varied, filled with forests, ruins, and quirky NPCs who dish out quests with a heavy dose of sarcasm. Sky herself is refreshingly witty, breaking the fourth wall with self-aware jokes about her product placement powers, which keeps the adventure from ever feeling too serious. Combat blends light puzzle-solving with spell combos, encouraging experimentation as you hurl candy-fueled magic at goblins and beasts. People were baffled at launch, torn between laughing at the blatant branding and admitting that the mechanics actually worked. Beneath the marketing stunt lies a solid, if modest, action RPG with clever level design and a heroine who's far more charismatic than most protagonists of the era. Today, Darkened Sky is remembered less as an ad and more as a cult oddity that proved even the strangest cross-promotion can yield a genuinely entertaining game. If you've ever wanted to save the world with the power of fruity sugar, this is your masterpiece. If there's a Mount Rushmore of infamously bad games, Ride to Hell Retribution would have its own monument. Released in 2013 after a troubled development cycle, this supposed biker gang action RPG arrived riddled with bugs, clumsy combat, and one of the most unintentionally funny scripts in gaming history. Reviews were savage, condemning everything from its wooden voice acting to bizarre, fully clothed romance scenes. But for those who lean into the chaos, this transforms into a comedy masterpiece. You play as Jake Conway, a Vietnam vet seeking revenge on a gang called the Devil's Hand. On paper, it's a gritty tale of brotherhood and betrayal. In practice, it's a carnival of jank. Gunfights feature enemies who barely react when shot. Motorcycle chases include physics-defying crashes, and stealth missions can be broken simply by running past guards. Dialogue swings between dead serious and absurd, with lines so stiff they feel like accidental satire. The soundtrack, a mix of generic rock riffs, loops endlessly, becoming a kind of running joke in itself. Despite, or because of these failings, Ride to Hell is riotously entertaining. Speedrunners and streamers have turned it into a cult classic, reveling in its glitchy spectacle. Each bug becomes a punchline, each clumsy cutscene an unforgettable meme. Far from the gritty outlaw epic developers promised, it's now celebrated as one of gaming's greatest so bad it's good experiences, a time capsule of ambition colliding spectacularly with reality. Few parody RPGs commit to their bit as fearlessly as Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden. Released in 2008 as a free indie project, it imagines a post-apocalyptic future where basketball has been outlawed after a catastrophic event called the Chaos Dunk. You play as NBA legend Charles Barkley, framed for this cosmic foul and forced to team up with characters like a cybernetic LeBron James to save the world. Yes, it's every bit as ridiculous and brilliant as it sounds. Despite its joke premise, it plays like a surprisingly competent JRPG. The turn-based combat borrows from Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy, complete with timed button presses for special attacks like the legendary Chaos Dunk itself. The writing is a non-stop barrage of absurd humor, mixing sports references, sci-fi tropes, and internet culture into a perfectly chaotic stew. Dialogue swings from deadpan seriousness to laugh-out-loud absurdity, making every conversation a delight. What elevates Barkley beyond mere parody is the genuine affection for the genre it spoofs. Beneath the satire lies a deep understanding of classic RPG mechanics and a clear love for their melodrama. Fans quickly embraced it as more than a novelty, and it remains a cult favorite in the indie scene. It's proof that even the most ridiculous concept can deliver both laughs and solid gameplay, turning a wild joke into an enduring classic that's as fun to play as it is to quote. Magus arrived late in the PS3's life cycle in 2014 and quickly earned a reputation for being one of the console's most unintentionally hilarious RPGs. On the surface, it promises an epic journey of a mysterious prisoner who discovers godlike magical powers and sets out to conquer kingdoms. In practice, it's a glorious train wreck of awkward animations, stiff combat, and some of the most over-the-top voice acting ever recorded. What makes this game unforgettable is its earnestness. Dialogue swings from Shakespearean gravitas to pure B-movie camp in the same breath. Villains cackle like cartoon overlords. Allies deliver lines with soap opera intensity, and the protagonist himself spouts melodramatic threats that beg to be quoted. The gameplay is equally unbalanced. You can quickly break the combat system by spamming a single overpowered spell, turning supposedly tense encounters into chaotic light shows. Yet there's a certain magic in its messiness. The open-ended progression lets you experiment with elemental powers, fire, water, and arcane, and the branching morality system offers choices that actually impact the story, even if the writing around them is unintentionally funny. Fans who gave it a chance found themselves oddly charmed, treating every clunky cutscene like a beloved B-movie. Magus may never be mistaken for a polished RPG classic, but its unfiltered enthusiasm and accidental comedy make it a must-play for anyone who enjoys games that are so bad they loop back around. Before Yoko Taro became famous for Nier Automata, he unleashed Drakengard on the PlayStation 2 in 2003, a game that's equal parts chaotic, disturbing, and oddly compelling. At first glance, it resembles a standard hack-and-slash RPG, mixing Muzu-style ground combat with aerial dragon battles. But within minutes, it veers into grim territory that most RPGs of the era wouldn't dare touch. The story follows Kame, a bloodthirsty prince who forges a fatal pact with a dragon to survive, and from there the narrative plunges into a nightmare of war crimes, twisted gods, and apocalyptic despair. Mechanically, the game can feel rough. Ground missions are repetitive, with stiff controls and hordes of cookie-cutter enemies. The dragon sequences, while thrilling at first, rely on dated lock-on mechanics that can grow tiresome over long sessions. Yet those very flaws feed into its oppressive atmosphere. Combat is brutal and unrelenting, and the constant slaughter mirrors Kame's own descent into madness. The soundtrack, an unsettling collage of dissonant orchestral loops, amplifies the sense of dread until even victory feels hollow. What elevates Drakengard from mere curiosity to cult legend is its sheer audacity. Multiple endings reveal ever darker truths, culminating in a final boss fight set in modern-day Tokyo that defies every narrative expectation. Its willingness to embrace discomfort and outright weirdness paved the way for Yoko Taro's later masterpieces, which refine but never quite surpass the raw, unsettling energy of his debut. Rough, unbalanced, and unforgettable, it proves that sometimes a game's very imperfections are what make it extraordinary. Released for the Nintendo 64 in 1998, Quest 64 arrived during the height of the JRPG boom, when players were craving the next Final Fantasy VII. Instead, they got a charming but undeniably bare-bones adventure that many critics dismissed as simplistic. You play as Brian, a young apprentice wizard searching for his kidnapped father and a set of magical elemental gems. The premise is pure Saturday morning cartoon, and the presentation, bright colors, cheerful music, and friendly NPCs, leans heavily into that vibe. Beneath its cheerful exterior, This game hides a few ideas that were quietly ahead of their time. Its battle system blends turn-based structure with free movement, letting you dodge attacks in real time while casting spells tied to 4 elemental schools. Character growth happens organically. The more you use a particular element or physical attacks, the stronger they become. There's no money system. Items are found, not bought, which subtly shifts the focus toward exploration and careful resource management. The game's biggest weakness is its minimal story and sparse dialogue, which left many players feeling it lacked depth compared to its PlayStation rivals. Yet that simplicity also gives it a breezy, almost meditative quality. Wandering through lush, 3D landscapes with a soaring score can be strangely relaxing. And for younger gamers at the time, Quest 64 served as an accessible entry point into the RPG genre. Over the years, it has earned a cult following of fans who appreciate its uncluttered design and cozy atmosphere. Far from a disappointment critics claimed, it's a gentle reminder that not every RPG needs layers of complexity to be quietly enjoyable.
Any Dan?
Developed by Piranha Bytes, the studio behind Gothic and Risen, Elex embodies everything endearingly scrappy about mid-budget European RPGs. Released in 2017, it throws players into a post-apocalyptic world that mashes science fiction with high fantasy. Laser rifles and magic spells coexist alongside mutant creatures and jetpacks. On release, critics panned it for janky animations, stiff combat, and a UI that felt stuck in the early 2000s. But beneath the rough exterior lies an ambitious, strangely captivating adventure that rewards those willing to look past its flaws. You play as Jax, a former soldier navigating the fractured planet of Magellan, where rival factions, the technocratic clerics, savage outlaws, mystical berserkers, and others, vie for control of the mysterious substance Elex. The game's greatest strength is its freedom. From the moment you step into the planet, you can wander anywhere, join, or betray any faction, and tackle quests in nearly any order. The jetpack adds exhilarating verticality, letting you scale mountains or ambush enemies from above, while faction reputations and player choices shape the story's outcome in meaningful ways. Combat can be clunky at first, demanding careful stamina management and timing, but perseverance pays off as new weapons and abilities open tactical depth. The world itself brims with handcrafted secrets, hidden loot, and unpredictable encounters that feel refreshingly unscripted compared to more polished AAA games. Fans of Gothic will recognize the studio's hallmark, a living, breathing world that respects curiosity and punishes carelessness. Over time, the game has cultivated a loyal fanbase who embrace its eccentric mix of sci-fi and fantasy. For players craving a vast, choice-driven RPG that dares to be different. Even if it stumbles, Elex delivers a uniquely memorable experience. Few games embody the so bad it's good energy quite like Deadly Premonition. Released in 2010, this survival horror detective story drew immediate comparisons to Twin Peaks thanks to its eccentric small-town setting and protagonist Francis York Morgan, who chats with his invisible friend Zach mid-investigation. Technically, the game is a mess, stiff combat, dated visuals, and driving physics that feel like wrestling a shopping cart. Yet those flaws only add to its peculiar magic. The heart of this game lies in its characters and surreal atmosphere. Greenvale's residents follow daily routines you can't observe, from eccentric diner patrons to a mysterious pot lady. Side activities range from fishing to coffee reading divination, all while a sinister murder mystery unfolds. The janky controls and awkward dialogue create moments of unintentional comedy, but also lend the story a dreamlike quality that keeps you guessing. Critics initially panned the game, calling it ugly and clumsy, but word of mouth transformed it into a cult classic. Fans celebrate its oddball humor, surprisingly heartfelt narrative, and the way it blurs the line between parody and sincerity. They leaned into its quirks, creating something unforgettable precisely because it refused to fit into a box. For players willing to overlook its rough exterior, Deadly Premonition offers an experience both hilarious and haunting. Proof that sometimes imperfection is the secret ingredient to greatness.
You always look like a busybody.
Square Enix's Unlimited Saga might be one of the boldest and most bewildering RPG experiments ever released on a major console. Hitting the PS2 in 2002, it arrived with high expectations thanks to the Saga series pedigree, only to baffle nearly everyone who played it. Instead of traditional exploration, you move characters across a board game-like map, triggering events and battles through what feels more like a tabletop session than a typical JRPG. Layered on top is a complex reel system. Every action, from landing attacks to disarming traps, requires a timed slot machine spin. For many players, it was simply too strange and opaque, leading to harsh reviews and quick relegation to bargain bins. Yet those who stuck with it discovered a game bursting with innovation. 7 protagonists each follow unique storylines that intersect in surprising ways, inviting multiple playthroughs. Its non-linear design allows for wild freedom. You can ignore quests, sequence break entire arcs, or stumble into hidden dungeons by accident. The real mechanic, initially maddening, becomes thrilling once mastered, turning every decision into a tense gamble where timing means everything. Add a deep crafting system and layered character growth, and you have an RPG that rewards patience with endless possibilities. Visually, Unlimited Saga still stands out. Watercolor-inspired backgrounds and striking character art give it a painterly elegance rare for the era. The soundtrack weaves lush orchestral themes with experimental flourishes that perfectly suit the game's offbeat spirit. Time has been kinder than launch day critics. Modern fans celebrate it as a misunderstood masterpiece whose ambition simply overshot what mainstream audiences expected in 2002. For players seeking an RPG that challenges convention at every step, Unlimited Saga is an unpolished gem well worth revisiting.
Something must be done, for they will soon endanger
When
Tava.
Two Worlds launched in 2007, it was mocked for everything from awkward animations to a script filled with laughably archaic dialogue. Combat felt floaty, menus were clunky, and bugs abounded. Yet, beneath the jank, many players discovered a shockingly free-form open-world RPG that refused to hold your hand. You could ride off in any direction from the start, pick fights with overpowered monsters, or break the economy by stacking buffs and crafting overpowered gear. The game's rough edges became part of its strange charm. Unlike more polished titles of that era, this game embraced chaos. Its sprawling continent was packed with quests that rarely cared what order you tackled them in, and the skill system allowed wild experimentation. Want to dual-wield axes, summon undead minions, and cast lightning storms? Go for it. The lack of level scaling meant danger lurked everywhere, but clever players could cheese the mechanics to hilarious effect, turning encounters into slapstick triumphs. Even a much-maligned voice acting developed a cult following. Fans still quote its melodramatic lines with ironic affection. Over the years, Two Worlds has aged into an endearing oddity. Its sequel smoothed some rough edges, but lost the anything-goes madness that made the original unforgettable. Today, it stands as a reminder that a bad game can offer freedom and personality that overly polished titles sometimes lack. If you can embrace its clumsiness, you'll find an ambitious RPG that delivers unintentional comedy and genuine adventure in equal measure.